Small number of Kenyans who seem to cling onto the reading culture, with research showing that average youth seems to be facing many distractions today, including other forms of media such as television, mobile phones and computers, which lead to an overload of information. But in order to encourage young and old people to read not just for commercial gain, but for leisure and cultural development, the reading culture and formation of reading institutions needs to be benchmarked by societies in developing worlds. And in her journey around education, Njamil Kiboi, our reporter, documents what many have said is a poor reading culture among Kenyans and what should be done to help encourage reading.
Today, we are in a global age and the world has become a global village as a result of expanded technology and other human activities. As global citizens, we can foster international cooperation, unite people, and make the world a better place to live. One way of achieving this is by awakening a reading culture all over the world. Like they say, books will let you travel without moving your feet. Books, they say, they are the trains, and at the same time, they are the roads. They are the destination and the journey. They are transportation. Excellent speakers, authors, and storytellers have honed their art from reading wide. These women and men of valor, they have commanded attention in huge crowds. They have wooed the congregation. They have done it over and over again. The secret to all this is reading books. Walk into any public library in the country and the less number of people you come across judges the apparent notion that there is lack of reading culture in Kenya. Despite having a most learned populace in East and Central Africa, it is observed that most Kenyans prefer spending leisure time in sporting activities, recreational places, bars, hotels, churches, and mosques than reading. Joyce Gikunjo, a publishing author, a podcaster, and a teacher who teaches master classes in public speaking, she cannot agree more but still feels the reading culture among Kenyans improved significantly during Mwai Kibaki regime that rolled out free primary education for students.
I will take that back to 2002 when the government in Kenya changed and the president who came in was a very educated man. He walked this country. And by saying when he walked this country, people went back to school, people started learning, loving reading and loving learning. So since then till now, Kenyans love reading. And that is why we saw a lot of local authors coming up because they also felt there was a gap missing. People want to learn, but there's nothing locally available, local context that you can use to grow your business, for example.
Even so, being in the publishing industry as an author for a longer period of time and interacting with different people of different caliber, Joy says that we are yet to reach a level of potential readers as a country.
Step to start. You know, when you're trying to teach someone, it's always good to start with what is readily available. Newspapers, we look at them all the time. We look at books all the time. That's usually the easiest way to consume information. As you read novels, as you read newspapers, you see how the person who has already written, conjugating, see how the person is forming their words, vocabulary. So it's a silent way of learning and an easy one, and there's no pressure.
In a culture increasingly privatized, libraries seem to be the last free spaces we have left. Gabriel Dinda, founder Writers Guild Kenya and Incubation Center for Writers Guild in Kenya, sympathizes with our readership culture as a country. Dinda believes reading should be one of the most intimate feelings of all times.
I read every day. Start with why. You may ask yourself, why am I reading in the first place? So if, for instance, your wish is to grow in your journalism or in your reporting, that is a why. So then it would be of interest for you to read content relating to that area so that you have a why at the end of it.
He, however, blames the poor reading culture on the upbringing in most of our families and how the society at large views reading. Basically shifting blame in reading lapses to electronic entertainment among youths.
It's unfortunate that we have to classify them as good reader or bad reader, because reading is something that is very intimate. Reading is something that should not be done in groups. It is so individual because the benefits are so individual. It only comes to the group benefits only come to a point where we are looking at a country, for instance.
Data on world reading habits back in 2018 shows who read most, what was read, as well as other fascinating insights into the learning landscape. According to the infograph, India, Thailand and China won gold, silver and bronze respectively for reading the most throughout the year. However, America and Europe were no laggards. 74% of Americans have read a book in the past 12 months, while the average European spent $240 on reading material. But what do Kenyans think about their reading culture?
The last time I read a book, it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah. And I've read like 5 books this month.
I develop a norm of at least every week I go and pick a book. I give myself a limit. I read within a week. Then the following week I pick a new one. And yes.
I'm a student, so mimi vitabu zenye nasomanga ni za shule. Tamthilia hizo wasisomi. Na sababu ni kuwa ninataka na prefer kuona maonyesho yenyewe.
As a country, it is easy to guess where we are in terms of global outlook in readership index.
You know, when you're trying to teach someone, it's always good to start with what is readily available. Newspapers, we look at them all the time. We look at books all the time. That's usually the easiest way to consume information. As you read novels, as you read newspapers, you see how the person who has already written, conjugating, see how the person is forming their words, vocabulary. So it's a silent way of learning and an easy one, and there's no pressure.
You can count the number of libraries we have, and probably your fingers will be enough to count them.